Welcome to Mental Fitness Stories with John Steele. Today's going to be a mental fitness tip. We're going to look at two things. We're going to talk a little bit about the inner dialogue and how that inner dialogue changes the brain. Little information on that, neuroplasticity, and follow it up with a tip. Today's tip is going to be shoulds versus coulds. Being able to replace the judgments with options. So let's get into it. The inner dialogue is the mental fitness. We've been going through mental fitness versus mental health. The inner dialogue can change the brain. For me, that's been something that has brought so much hope. It's brought options amidst the times that I have felt that there are no options. It's brought a little more control in the midst of the out of control, right? We've been doing mental fitness versus mental health. Mental health has been the reactionary things that have happened in life, and those happen. Mental fitness, though, is a spot where you can find a little more control and a little more options. And that happens at the brain level. Neuroplasticity. That is our brain and its capability of changing and forming new neural networks throughout our lives. Now, as a kid, that change and that reinforcement can happen quickly and deeply. But throughout our lives, our neural networks can change. And I've found that it can change through this inner dialogue. I've shared the phrase, I am enough. I can specifically remember when that one sunk in. It went from something I was aware of up here in my head to something I started to believe. It was during my master's program to become a marriage and family therapist. I was sitting in a class, and in that class, there was a moment that we were told to reflect on our inner messages. Now, the one that was coming up for me was that I am not enough. But as I was able to sit with it a little bit longer, take a breath, be more curious with it, I could recognize the I am enough message sinking in. And then it stuck. My neural pathway changed. There was a new connection that happened, the neuroplasticity. And from then on, it's been a practice, but it's been something that I have worked on to say, I am enough. Now, it's branched out in so many different ways, and one of the ways that I found was a way I wanted to share with you, and that is this practice of coulds versus shoulds. That finding options versus sitting in judgment, and being able to recognize that coulds are possible. For instance, I've shared it before, but something like, hey, I wanted to work out for 30 minutes today, and I realized I only got 5 minutes of stretching in today. There was replacement there of, instead of I should have worked out 30 minutes, is I could have worked out 30 minutes, but had this amount of time. And that could gave me options. It didn't feel so constricting. Gave me a little bit more breath. And so with that, the practice is tracking your shoulds. Start there. Take a day, take a week, and write down how many shoulds that happen in your language, the way that you speak, and then how much it comes through in thought. And as you track those, I encourage to replace them with coulds. It could start in your thoughts, or it could start in your language. When speaking to others, you could start to replace that instead of saying should, bringing in the coulds. That's my tip. Remember, shoulds versus coulds. Practice that and see how many shoulds are in your language and how many coulds you can replace it with. And remember that you are changing your brain as you do it. I hope you enjoy that tip, and I hope that's something that can help you. Remember to keep following, subscribing to Mental Fitness Stories with John Steele, and be ready for a Mental Fitness Stories group to start up in August. We're going to also be sharing an interview that I recently did that I'm real excited about, that covers the perspective from two amazing people who are involved in mental fitness at the level of coaching, but also with racing and track and field, and as an author. So many cool perspectives with that. So I look forward to that coming up next week. With that in mind, remember to be curious, stay curious, without judgment. Until next time. Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey through mental fitness stories with John Steele. If you resonated with today's episode, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a review on your podcast platform of your choice. Remember, your story is important, and so is your mental well-being. If you have a personal mental fitness journey you'd like to share or topics you'd like us to explore in future episodes, reach out to us on social media or through our website. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations, expert insights, and practical tips to help you cultivate a resilient mind. Until next time, take care of your mind, nurture your inner dialogue, and prioritize your self-care. Remember, you are not alone, and your mental fitness and well-being is worth the investment. Thanks for being a part of the Mental Fitness Stories community.